What's going on, everybody? It's another edition of the NRW Checkpoint. You know who you are. You know who you with. WebsterStyle, Brian Sapph. Brian, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Now, Brian, we had a PlayStation State of Play this week.
We did.
Did you happen to check it out?
I looked at some of it. I haven't finished it, but I did see what they was talking about. How you feel about it?
I thought it was okay. It's weird. The reaction online really ranges from, and this is from Sony fanboys as well. It was
Right.
horrible to it was awesome. And I was like, I thought it was okay from a standpoint of just not a lot of surprises per se. Even like we knew Death Stranding 2 was coming out. We knew about Silent Hill 2, which surprisingly didn't look that great. I mean, it looks good. But I don't know. The Resident Evil remakes really set the bar.
Right.
It just doesn't. It doesn't give me that wow factor of the Resident Evil remakes, especially the first time we saw 2. They did drop that free to play Silent Hills game, which looks pretty cool. I forget what it's called off the top of my head. I had, the leaks and whatnot had gone out a couple of days before, so people were speculating on what was there. And one of the things they talked about was their Sonic Generations remaster, which I can't say I was looking forward to because I have the original one to play. No, I'm not saying it to say I have it. I literally haven't gotten into it like that, and I've had it for years. Not saying it's not a good game, but
Right.
I was curious to see what they were going to do with this, if it's a remaster and the shadow rumors were true. So it's Sonic Time Shadow Generations, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah.
Sega's doing a really good job of pumping out in one way, shape, or form quality Sonic games right now, which I think is very good. And I don't know when Sonic 3 comes out. I don't think it's this year, maybe next year, but they get the hype up for Sonic 3 since Shadow is going to be a very prominent antagonist in that movie. That was pretty cool. That the announcement with Kojima, it's an announcement. I won't really care until we see something. Stellar Blade looked okay.
Yeah.
What was it? What's the Rise of the Ronin? That looked
Yes.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
My only concern is I hope it's not another Souls-like game.
Okay.
It looked like it has some different combat elements, not just a normal Souls-like, if it is like, but I think that genre is getting a little played out right now with Souls-like. I really figure I feel as though everything that comes out this year is going to be an action RPG Souls-like game. But like this is the year that we're going to hit that, because we got some of that last year, like Liza P and a couple other ones.
Right.
But I feel like this year, because everybody probably hopped on the bandwagon with Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 3. And we got it's 2024. So we got about 4 or 5 years in development now. So yeah, they should be coming out right about now.
Right.
A game I'm interested in, probably more so because of the pedigree, was that Judas game from
Okay.
was it the dude from BioShock.
Okay.
So that looks
I saw
interesting,
that
and that's
trailer.
multi-platform, so I wasn't really worried about that as far as, oh no, I won't be able to play it if I want to. I mean, I still got to get a new system for it. But all in all, it was a pretty cool showcase. They also have the Metro VR game. I'm glad they finally showing the PlayStation VR 2 some love, because I swear, forget that exists half the time.
Right.
But all in all, it was a decent showcase. Nothing that wowed me personally as a gamer. I still say, what is that game?
Which one?
The game they got coming out with, the one that reminds me of Starship Troopers, Hell whatever.
Helldivers 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
I swear, like, the only reason that game excites me is because the whole marketing reminds me of Starship Troopers. That is it. It is so Starship Troopers inspired, and that's the only reason that game looks like, oh, I think that'd be cool, just because of the marketing. I don't know if it's the type of game I would want to play, but all in all, like I say, it's a decent showcase. It's better than the last one. They did definitely better than the last one, with the breadth of games that they showed. But again, this is not my problem. This is my problem with online people. You and I sit here and assess it. We look at the games and what they show, and based on our interests and also kind of what kind of excitement in general the games really generate within us and the community in general.
Right.
I will say, and this is partially Sony's fault. I think any sort of state of play or anything like this is going to come off lackluster because there's a lack of first party games. And Sony has made their bones about being the best first party, to having the best first party titles. And anytime you don't have a showcase of your first party titles, and especially since it's been so long, I understand why people are upset, especially if I'm a Sony fanboy. I would be pissed. It's like, just Sony, what if first? Oh, and mind you, I came to a revelation about Foam Stars today, because I used to laugh when people, like, I forget, the dude from IGN was like, he was really excited for it when it was announced. I'm sitting there thinking, dude, are you really excited for Foam Stars? But then I think about it, right? If Splatoon is such a mega hit,
it is.
I'm like, okay, I can see why someone who maybe is one to play Splatoon, likes Splatoon, would have loved to, or it plays it on their Switch, would love to play something similar on their maybe their system is tested at TV.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I can understand it. It's not a full price game, which is a good thing. And smartly enough, it really should have been a day one PlayStation Plus drop instead of just being there for, well, it is, but it's only there for a month. Which I think is a bad idea, personally speaking. They should have gave it a 6-month time frame. So only $30. I think it would entice a lot more people, especially if they had content dropped for it ready to go, which they should have, especially since considering the title it is. I think that would have been a better idea. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, okay, this is a different audience. And one of the things that we child PlayStation on is not having different types of games.
Right.
And this is a different type of game where it can appeal to a different audience more so than what their quote unquote core audience is. And it's a smart play from Square Enix, in my opinion. As much as we laugh at it, the more I think about it, it's not a bad play at all. And especially since, Final Fantasy ain't necessarily hitting on the expectations that they thought it would. Final Fantasy 16, like they need to diversify their catalog.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. I think Square Enix, they've pigeonholed themselves into being more of a RPG story driven type of game developer, which isn't bad because they've been successful at doing that. But I think for them to be around as long as they've been around, like, you would actually expected them to have, like you said, diversified their catalog by now.
And they tried that. They just didn't do it well.
Right. Which I would, I don't know. I like the strides that they're making. Foam Star, it does look like a cool game. Splatoon is incredibly popular. Like, if you have a Switch, you know about this game. Even if you don't, you know about this game. You probably played it, whether you own a Switch or not. Like, Splatoon is good. So for them to come back, or it's for them to take the essence of Splatoon and kind of build out their own thing and try to make it, you know what I'm saying? Not maybe not rival, because we see what happens with whenever these companies try to rival what's already popular on the Switch. I'm thinking about what's the fighting game? It just slipped my mind.
The
Smash Brothers.
Yes, and
thinking about Smash Brothers. Yeah,
yes.
And all of the clones, so if you will, that tried but still haven't. it leaves some questionable things, but it's also very interesting because it will be something that PlayStation owners, and I'm not sure, it's Foam Stars. I don't know. Is that coming to the box? Did they say it was?
No, that's exclusive to PlayStation.
Okay, so we'll see how that,
at least that for now.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Because believe it or not, like, I was speaking as a PlayStation owner. Like, that's always been my, like, primary console. we like party games over here. It's not
Right.
all, story driven RPGs and stuff like that and battle royales and stuff. Like party games are fun. Like, so I like that Square Enix is taking a step back and be like, let's add that to the roster and see if we could do something. And you mentioned it going to PlayStation Plus. Now, PlayStation Plus it's structured a little different in terms of, or in comparison to Game Pass.
Yeah, I think it's the middle tier, the middle and the higher tier, not the base tier, I think. But I know it's dropping on day one.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know. It's a money thing. It's not going to, they understand the potential that Foam Star has, so they're not going to give it to us like that for 6 months or whatever the case might be. In 1 month, cool, get your feel. Because they did the same thing with Fall Guys. Give it to us for free the first month it was out or whatever. And then after the month passes or whatever, and it's not the like staple game, like the game that they're trying to push and promote, then it's like, $24.99 if you wanna if you didn't cop the free download, you gotta pay for it now. But I do agree that they should come up with a way, or they should include it in the PlayStation Plus catalog so that it does last longer and give people more access to it, especially with it being a newer game.
I don't understand why I know Sony probably paid to make it exclusive. Maybe they didn't, who knows? But you telling me Sony wouldn't shell out money to get even a 3-month window for this?
We're talking about Sony.
But they pay for Sea of Stars. You're paying for, and again, Sea of Stars is a great little RPG, but you're paying for that game, but you aren't paying your literally top second party or third party exclusive game maker. Right. You're not going to throw in some money for 3 months to ensure that game really lives and is successful. Because again, I think that you have it even 2 months. I think a month is too short, and that's kind of the biggest thing. 2 months, I think the game was $49.99. So I feel as though you're going to have a higher conversion rate of people actually buying the game compared to if it was a $70 title and you drop it on day one.
Definitely.
And especially if they do have some DLC ready to go. So I just feel like that could be a bigger hit on PlayStation Plus. It'd be a compelling reason for people to have the service. But just like what's the game? Back for Blood.
Okay.
It's living because it's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
The developers are not doing any work, they're moving something, but it's living because of Game Pass.
Right.
And those sort of games, that's one of the good things about a subscription service, in my opinion, that those games have a chance to live and find an audience. A subscription and free to play, I think,
right.
Speaking.
I agree.
Those games have a chance to find an audience. And I think Foam Stars is one of those games that could potentially, again, I could be grossly wrong. I could totally undersell the demand for this game and how big of a hit it's going to be. I could be totally wrong. Because the game is not my type of game. And with that as some implicit bias there because of that, in my opinion. However, I just don't think that that's a game that people will automatically like, I need to buy this. And I think if it's good, having people be able to try it for an extended period of time, maybe a month, depending on the depth of the game, maybe a month is enough. Maybe they know what they're doing over there. They don't get to sell X amount of consoles without knowing what they're doing. However, it's one of those things where I'm just curious to see what happens with this game. I hope it's successful. Personally speaking, it would be interesting to have a real quote unquote Splatoon rival, because the Splatoon fanatic in my house, they were just talking about it a second ago. It was like this weekend is Splatfest with Callie and Marie, and just knowing that the characters and the lore inspires so many across the world is really amazing. And if Foam Stars can even tap into 1/10 of that, then I think it'll be pretty successful.
I agree. But again, money. We talking about Sony. They trying to get us for every dollar. They do this, I think, to build anticipation for people to go out and actually spend the money. Because it's like, okay, give you a short window to try the game. you know, that's going to create a lot of fanfare around it. But then anybody who misses that window, it's like you're either going to pay and be a part of the party or be left out. I'm saying that to say, I don't think Sony cares enough about gamers and these video games that they're putting out to actually be like, you know what, we want people to try the game and for it to be successful. It's literally put it out, build up some very, very immense hype for it, and then you know what I'm saying, once the hype is there, put it behind a paywall and let's charge the people who wasn't paying attention when we first told them the game was available for you to download for free right now.
Right.
Consumerism and capitalism, it just wins every time when it comes to Sony, because that's what they after. They want the money. So while I would appreciate like what you're saying and how Game Pass has been incredibly instrumental in a lot of these games having longer longevity when it comes to consumers and gamers alike, it just Sony they're not looking for that. They don't want to do that. Look, they just let Crash Bandicoot and Spyro and all these other iconic characters that literally built the platform, the Sony PlayStation brand. They just let all those IP slip away. Like they didn't.
Well, they did that years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They did that years ago.
That's what I'm saying. They never cared about like gamers enjoying the game. It's always been about money. And I mean, it's to their benefit because they've been able to keep up with the life cycle of their games. Like we've been consistent with the lifespan of these consoles or whatever, and they put them out, they go crazy, people spend money on them, but you fuck over the consumer sometimes like that. And even though they do a service to us by saying like, okay, after this game is no longer popular and people aren't playing it, we're going to add it to the PlayStation Plus catalog and you have opportunity. Then it's like, some people, they really want to play it while it's in the moment and it's hot. But we'll see, because if Foam Stars is what I think it's going to be, then it's going to have an element to it that, I mean, yeah, people are going to be playing it for quite some time. At least that's what I think. Because like I said, Fall Guys kind of went the same route. And to this day, like, people still play that game.
But it also went free to play too.
It did. Yeah. After they got their money off of the Sony strategy, and then they was able to finally port over to the Switch. It was like, okay, it's for everybody now. Free to play.
And went free to play.
So, I don't know. I think that's what the plan may be, because plenty of games come through
that makes sense
like that. But yeah, they don't care about us like that.
All right. So overall, what would you give the PlayStation State of Play?
I think it was okay. Like I feel like you as well. Like there was nothing that like grabbed me. Like I wasn't expecting like AAA titles, to be announced like that on here anyway. Just given the fact that they pretty much tell us after Christmas what the rest of what the next year is gonna look like.
Right.
So I was like, okay, if it's not, they're not gonna surprise us with anything new, then I kind of already know what to expect. You brought up Helldivers 2. That obviously that was the first trailer that they played.
Right.
That immediately was like, oh, okay, this kind of remind me of Outriders. But that one looked interesting to me. Stellar Blade also, I like the Sonic X Shadow Generations thing. That was cool. Zenless Zone Zero looked very interesting.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I didn't see that in the beginning. I saw like I was watching somebody else covering. I'm like, oh, that looks pretty interesting. Okay.
Yeah. They had some really cool like ones tucked in. Which other ones? I mean, I'm pretty sure Dragon's Dogma 2 is gonna be highly anticipated because it's a franchise game at this point. Rise of the Ronin also did look good. I was interested in that. And then just because I'm a Jujutsu Kaisen fan, I was like interested in the game or whatever. But the rest of this stuff is kind of like, okay, we're just kind of letting you know what's coming down the pipeline. This Banisher's Ghost of the new Eden game. The gameplay looked interesting on that. But overall, it's like, okay. I like that it wasn't like a bunch of heavy hitter like AA titles or anything like that, because it just made you have to focus on the fact that we got a bunch of smaller games coming out, and see if you like that stuff versus trying to anticipate the big AA trailer at the beginning. But overall, I wasn't like disappointed or nothing, but that's because I went into it with no expectation.
Right.
I don't necessarily care to play Silent Hill. It is what it is. I understand how popular the game is, but that's not necessarily my side of the conversation. So just like, okay, cool. There's another showcase. And I'm waiting for Nintendo to go ahead and announce their direct so I can see what they got coming over there.
Yeah, that's what we were really waiting for, because we waiting for that Switch too. I coined it, we waiting for that Super Nintendo Switch. That's what we were waiting for.
If it's not Super Nintendo Switch, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
They missed the mark. I swear, if they don't do that, they missed the beautiful.
I mean, you know how many articles I've seen, and like people really want it to be that. It's like
it should be. Nintendo that is perfect.
Yeah, it would be perfect, but you know,
or just a Super Switch, right? The Super Switch, Nintendo and Super Nintendo. Like, come on now, Nintendo. Yeah, like read the tea leaves, the writings on the wall. We all it would sell.
Read the room.
Like it's big. Oh, imagine a campaign where supposedly is like 8 inches in your screen or whatnot. You have the old Switch,
right?
And then it eats a mushroom and turns into the Super Switch.
Yeah, that would be fire.
Oh my God.
Promo alone. Yes. Yeah. I'm with that.
Well, that's our take on the PlayStation State of Play. Let's get into some games with new releases. So first up this week, we have BlazBlue Entropy Effect on the PC. It's from 91 Act as far as publisher and developer. Artistic and magnificent combat action, incredibly satisfying combos, numerous characters, hundreds of moves. This unique action roguelike game will bring you an experience that exceeds expectations. And that's the description. So it's another roguelike. Okay, great.
Right. I think if I'm probably confusing it with another game. Okay, I think it's BlazBlue. That's.
I think BlazBlue was also a fighting game.
Yeah.
So I think this is a spinoff of that, if I remember, if I'm assuming correctly. But BlazBlue, I thought, was a fighting game also.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so it must be a spinoff. All right.
Okay.
Diversifying the title and everything, branch out in different genres. All right, I see you.
Right.
91 Act. All right. Next up, we have Song of Nunu, a League of Legends story on a PS4, 5, Xbox One, S, and X. Surprisingly, no Switch. It's from Tequila Works developer, publisher Riot Forge. Two best friends, one wild adventure. Join best friends Nunu and Willup on, I want to say William, but it's Willup. It's so odd. An adventure across the frozen wilds of the Fjordland. Song of Nunu. League of Legends story is a single-player story adventure developed by Tequila Works. Yeah, okay. And this is just coming to consoles because it dropped on PC, I think it was around November-ish of last year.
Okay.
Next up, we have Granblue Fantasy Relink on the PS4, 5, and not Switch, I want to say Switch, but PC. We're watching the trailer for this one. It's from Cygames Inc. A grand adventure in the skies awaits. Form a party of 4 from a diverse roster of skyfarers and slash or shoot or hex your way to victory across treacherous foes in this action RPG. Take on quests solo or with the help of others in up to 4-player co-op play. And we are watching the trailer for that one.
Okay, that sound like my sound like me right there.
Next up, we have Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash on PS4, 5, Xbox One, S, X, Switch, and PC. Developed by King Inc. and published, of course, by Bandai Namco. Master the jujutsu of your favorite sorcerers and cursed spirits. Bring a friend and dive into the world of Jujutsu Kaisen in this action-packed 2-on-2 fighting game. It's a fighting game based on Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yes, which that's the new popular anime at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's gonna look like right. It's gonna look a lot like the Naruto's and all of that stuff.
That's what I expect. When I had Bandai Namco and anime, that's what I expect.
Definitely that. But unique now because it's different. Jujutsu Kaisen is an anime that deals a lot of in the not necessarily paranormal, but that's the premise of the show. But moving forward.
Understood. Next up, we have one game that a lot of people were waiting for, especially after they
Right.
dropped what was the PSP version? Was it PSP it came out for? Anyway, Persona 3 Reloaded. Yeah, because it was they dropped all the games on Game Pass, and they re-released like the I think it was the original game came out on PSP, if I remember correctly. It's an older system, but I want to say PSP because one of the games that they dropped was a PSP exclusive. Anywho, this is a remake of that game. So thus the Persona 3 Reload is on a PS4, 5, Xbox One, S, X, and PC. Surprisingly not the Switch, but I heard one of the rumors is that they're holding back on this to drop it with the launch of the Super Switch. We're calling it that. That's what some of the rumors are, but we shall see. Persona series, if you're watching this, you probably know.
You already know. Right.
Atlas and Sega. And again, like I said before, is dropping on Game Pass. So step into the shoes of transfer students thrust into an unexpected fate when entering the hour hidden between day and the next. Awaken an incredible power and chase the mysteries of the dark hour. Fight for your friends and leave a mark on their memories forever. Persona 3 Reload is a captivating reimagining of the genre-defining RPG reborn for the modern era. And we are watching the trailer for that one.
Okay. Bet.
Next up is arguably the most talked about game this week.
Right.
Not for good reasons.
I was about to say.
and I'm sad about that too, but we'll get into that shortly. It is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League on a PS5, Xbox Series systems, and PC. And we are watching the trailer for that one. It's from Rocksteady Games and Warner Brothers as the publisher. From Rocksteady Studios, the creators of Batman Arkham series, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a genre-defying third-person action shooter where the ultimate band of misfits must do the impossible to save the world. Kill the Justice League. Join the newly recruited members of Amanda Waller's infamous Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and King Shark, as they set out on an impossible mission to kill the Justice League, drop into an expansive and dynamic open-world metropolis ravaged by Brainiac's invasion and terrorized by the heroes who once protected it.
Okay.
Can we talk about this for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the biggest issues that people had with this game was when they discovered that there were live service elements. And then it came to bite them in the behind because they charged people $100 to get 72-hour early access. And when they did it, people logged in and discovered a bug that basically jumped into the end of the game.
Wow.
So then they pulled the game down, put it back up, and then had to pull it down again. So these people paid an extra $30 to pay it 3 days early. And won't really be able to play it until it comes out at the time it's recording tomorrow.
Right.
Can you talk about the buffoonery of gaming personified? Because we're all like, why does this game need to be
early access?
Why does it need to be always on? And this is exactly why gamers are questioning it, because the premise sounds cool. Now, I will say this though. I think IGN put up the first 20 or 25 minutes. Now, I purposely not watched any walkthroughs or even like a lot of people put up video the past couple of days.
Yeah,
but I watched IGN's, and while I thought it looked cool, and again, just for intro level, I wasn't really inspired by the gameplay.
I mean, which is for me at least, what I'm realizing is an overarching kind of situation when it comes to DC games in general, because this was, at least from what I'm seeing, that's like along the same lines of the Dark Knight, or what is it called?
Gotham Knights.
Yes, the Gotham Knights game. I don't know. I really don't understand like what causes DC and Warner Brothers, for that matter, their gaming division to be so lackluster. But it's like, at least me, I would expect that with James Gunn moving over to head their film and television department or whatever, they would at least try to do something to make the games not have to go through these kind of issues. And
well, he just got there, so
what happened?
I mean, he just got there. This game has been in development before he got there, so
I understand
maybe
that,
things have changed. Yeah,
God damn, they can hold it a little bit. Like nobody. I mean,
they already held it a year.
Nobody
was supposed to come out last year.
No,
they wasn't. I will say this though: the premise is interesting. The one redeeming thing about this game for me is this story sounds so cool. Okay,
it does.
Just as far as Brainiac and the superheroes getting taken over, and the Suicide Squad of all people having to take them out, and by killing them, it's such a great Elsewhere world story. That's like not saying the only redeeming value, but that's what wants me to want this game to succeed. But seeing the gameplay, seeing the issues as far as the server and stuff is concerned, which is absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable.
What is it with live service games? I don't understand that. I really don't understand it.
I don't get it either, man.
You cannot. Why is it so important for these companies to continue to make money off of these games like that? There's, at least in my opinion, I see it being a live service because they want to continue to sell you things like a battle pass and skins and all this other stuff. But it's like, for what? Why? If the game is not going to, it's not a live service type of situation. Like, the whole game got a storyline to it. It's an RPG.
Right.
But why are we trying to force this to be live service? Like, I don't know. It's weird.
I don't get it either. Like, why is this a live service? Why do you have to be always on? It doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. I think of Crackdown, was it 3?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming it has to be online. Because and again, this is Microsoft, so they're actually using their cloud infrastructure for this game. It was built in that way, but it's Microsoft and Azure.
Right.
I get that. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but when you make that explanation, I totally understand why something like that needs to be online, because they're actually using the power of the cloud to generate things and so on and so forth. To my understanding, that's not the case for this game whatsoever.
And after the failure that took place with Marvel's Avengers, why are we not?
Again, that should never have been a live service game either. That would have been so much better if it wasn't live. If it wasn't, they should have just stuck to DLC monetization of DLC packs
and left it at
instead of doing a live service. That game would still be running today, and people would still be playing it. But because it was live service, it killed it. It didn't make enough money, because being a live service, they have to have money to keep generating operating servers and do this. And the same thing with Kill the Justice League. That's a game that has to make money to keep it running.
Right.
And having that, if you don't have a good launch, you don't have a good player base, everything goes down for everybody.
Right.
So that's absolutely ridiculous. Okay. Look, we done our rant for right now. We'll watch the trailer. I'm sure we have some more words to say, but it's just an absolute disaster. It illustrates why games do not need to be, or a game like this does not need to be, a live service game always online. That is absolutely ridiculous.
I feel like I don't think they understand that gamers are not as gullible as they think. Like, there's a certain side of the gaming community, especially when it comes to those sports games, where it's like, you could take all their money, they don't care, as long as they get to play their favorite characters. They don't care. But the rest of us who genuinely love, care about games and everything like that, like, you not going, let's put it live service and stick the Justice League in there and Suicide Squad, and also they're gonna eat it up. No, we're not. We understand. most gamers, they have an understanding of games that goes past consumerism. We understand the development teams and all this other stuff, the business behind the industry, the gaming industry or whatever. Like, we're not just gonna buy these games because you stick DC characters on there and tell us, oh, it's live service, you can get as many skins as you want. We know
nobody cares.
Right. Like,
look, Fortnite is an exception, not the rule.
Right. Exactly.
Those
Battle
games
royales
that
in generals are exceptions.
There are a small amount of live service games that are winners compared to all the ones that have died and continuously die every single year.
Right.
And again, let's go back to earlier talking about Sony. Sony makes compelling third-person cinematic games. That is what they're known for. That's what they've been successful. That's what has been their bread and butter.
Right.
None of those need to be connected to the internet to play.
Right.
Why is it that you have this shooter that all of a sudden you need to be connected to play in order to traverse this world? Is something going on in the back end? Like, is this world being generated via the servers? And if that's the case, why are you selling me a physical game?
Right.
Why isn't this online only? And then if that's the case, why am I paying full price for a game that's not even on my disc and not even in my download? None of it makes sense as far as the live service aspect. And again, maybe I'm somewhat ignorant to what really goes into it. But as a gamer, I know I should be able to stick that disc in my Xbox. And this is my issues in general for a lot of games nowadays, everything digital, but they're digital just because they're lazy, not digital because they need to be connected per se.
Right.
But I want to be able to stick that disc in my Xbox, have that some bitch download and play it off my Xbox. I don't need to be connected to the next part of the game in order to play it at any point in time. Don't need to do that. And that is why something like this, that's why everybody lambasted it, rightfully so. Like, say, it looks cool. I'm not going to say it doesn't. I'm not going to say the premise isn't interesting. I'm not going to say that the story has me interested to know what happens. I'm not going to say that, because all of that is true. I'm interested in what's going to happen. It looks cool from a visual perspective, from the character designs, the voices. Samoa Joe is the voice of King Shark, so I'm already there for that.
Right.
But looking at the initial gameplay, I haven't watched anything else. It doesn't say to me, oh, this is something that's really, it seems solid, but it doesn't look like something like, oh, I want to get into this today sort of thing. And then the fact that I have to be connected, then the fact that there are server issues. How does a bug like that pop up after? How do you not find that before you launch it for early access, and you launch it early access and people paid extra money? How does that just pop up? That doesn't make sense to me.
It's a live service game, but you're not doing betas. You're not doing no kind of closed testing on this game with the actual people who are going to play it. You just, live service, we're going to give you early access. That ain't enough for you to fix nothing. That ain't enough time. But
they need to just refund those people that 30. They need to refund. They need people partial refund if they haven't gotten already, because that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And that is horrible customer service.
Agreed. And refund. Don't give me no extra skins for free and all this other stuff.
Right.
Give me my money back.
See, this is the thing. And we're going to get to the last game of the week because we still got to watch the trailer for this bad boy. But this is the thing I think video games are missing. Your live service, you're providing a service, which also means you need to provide customer service.
Exactly.
The video game industry is not accustomed to customer service. Right. You cannot have a live game and have all these issues and be like, oh, my bad, we wrote in our terms, and like somebody wrote the terms and service on Steam where this sort of contingency is there. Like, you buy this knowing basically if something goes wrong, service go down, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's in the terms of service that you sign on to.
Wow,
that's horrible customer service.
Definitely.
That's horrible. Like, why would I, as a gamer, if I sat up there and I paid $30 extra to get this game early, and then half the time the server's down, why is a game would I ever want to buy a game from you again?
Right.
Why would I ever want to support your company? You know, that early access, people were bitching and complaining about Starfield, and people paying an extra $30 for early access for a week early access, even if they had it on Game Pass just to play it early. But you know what? There were no issues. There were no servers going down. You know, you heard people maybe moaning about they ain't like certain aspects of the game, but you never heard about that game going down when people got early access. You never, like, there was some bugs.
Right.
No game-breaking bugs were found.
Right.
Nobody's game just stopped. There were no there were no major issues. And even so, and this is, look, love or hate Microsoft. Microsoft is good about addressing issues that come up in their games and look, in their customer service in general. I just personally speaking from issues I've had in the past, and I've had to call up that number. The best customer service I've ever dealt with a tech company.
That's because they've literally been doing this. They understand that that's what's going to keep your company thriving.
Yep.
Windows, all that. Microsoft has been here since before gaming on consoles and anything like that was a thing. They understand. You sell them a product, the customer service needs to be up to par in order for you to keep generating customers.
You're right.
Everybody else, they stumbling into this and saying, oh, you know, well, we put a product out and that's it. Like, I should be able to call your guys there and tell them.
Or we need to get a refund. You need to get some. You know, there needs to be better compensation than, oh, we had that contingency in our terms of service that you agreed to. I told you about that terms of service of Gotham Knights when I read it, how it basically you didn't own the game, you get a license, and I was like,
who want to do that?
Right. This is maybe it's WB. Maybe it's WB, but who knows? Yeah. But let's get to the last new game this week. It's not a new game per se, but it's new for the PC. It's Vampire the Masquerade Justice from Fast Travel Games. Become a vampire in VR. Strike from the darkness and drink the blood of your prey. Use stealth, persuasion, and an arsenal of upgradable abilities to sneak past enemies undetected or punish the guilty in the seedy back streets of nighttime Venice. That actually sounds kind of cool. Venice at night? Okay. Considering I've walked the streets of Venice at night, I have that in my head. Vampire the Masquerade Justice is an open-ended narrative adventure RPG set in the world of Darkness universe. You have the power to strike fear into the hearts of a criminal underworld as an untraceable shadow, picking off targets one by one. And this dropped on the PlayStation VR 2 as well as MetaQuest back in 2023, is just dropping on PC today. Now let's get back to our talk. I'm gonna say lambastic because I don't think either one of us wants this game to suck. But let's get into our trailers, starting off with Justice League Kill. Excuse me, not Justice League Kill the Suicide Squad. That happens all the time. Suicide Squad.
That's what would happen in a. That's what will happen in a true world.
Right.
This is the hall for heroes, not you.
Always wanted to do this. Let's go.
So yeah, the $30 to pay for costumes.
I mean,
new toys. It's your lucky day.
Yes, a primal thrill.
I like how that costume is like Nightwing.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Or Batwing, excuse me. Yeah.
I just don't get it.
I tell you, the best part about this game is King Shark voiced by Samoa Joe. Watching that 20 minutes or so, like I just loved it. I just absolutely love him being King Shark. It's just so funny. He nails it. And also I like this iteration. It's not the dumb King Shark, it's the smart King Shark.
Okay, good.
as well. So I like that, especially it gives the character more wit and banter, especially when playing off of Harley and Deadshot. I don't like the voice of Deadshot. Like, he's serviceable, but I don't know. I expected a deeper voice for Deadshot. Yeah, I expected something different. And Captain Boomerang fits, so
Yeah.
Next up, we have our remaster remake. It's Reloaded. Persona 3 Reloaded.
The time is right.
Let him have it, fellas!
A power that takes many forms. Might even prove to be your salvation, depending on where you end up.
Shadows are getting even more powerful. We need to get stronger too.
My persona represents the strength of my heart. And from here on, my heart will never falter.
Maybe we really are like heroes of justice.
The dark hour is horrifying to think about, isn't it? But our persona's awakened, and we're here now.
Please, we need your help. We'd like you to lend us your strength.
All right, let's head inside. Are you ready, leader?
Check out, give it a try.
I think the Persona series is so popular because it's so different, thematically speaking, from other turn-based RPGs. Especially playing in some of Persona 5.
Those who set foot in the Velvet Room are all destined to embark on a journey of self-discovery.
Totally different than your standard JRPG. And I think that's why it's just become so popular, because it's so different. Especially stemming from the
Mission
I forget the original series that it branched off of. But yeah, it's like, it looks pretty cool.
It does. Like a solid remaster.
I'll be downloading it, and hopefully if I get time, that'll be this week's Game Bites.
Okay.
So next up we have Granblue Fantasy Relink.
Which this right.
Side Games presents Project Link Team Presentation. The world of Granblue Fantasy.
O Shaman of Salvation, long have we
This
waited
look like
for
something this
I will
day.
play
too.
This is pretty cool.
It does.
What did you
But again, we talk about JRPGs, and it still looks
Good thing we know where that red ship is going.
the same.
Grand Cypher will hunt it down in no
But
time.
see, I like this battle system as well. I like I like the visual aesthetic of the battles. Like,
it's weird because
Protect her.
it kind of looks like it's 3D and 2D at the same time as
Right.
I can no longer feign innocence.
interesting
I knew this
art
path was
choice.
wrong.
I like how bright and
Where
like
were you
colorful
when I needed
the
you
action
the
is, but it's
Yeah.
still very like
The
visible.
ordeals of our
It's not
pilgrimage
like
are nearly at an end.
I can't tell what's going on
Your
because I'm doing
crew
this
is
super flashy.
largely to thank for that. Acknowledge my vision, and salvation shall come.
No one gives a crap about your evil plans. Just give our friends back. You hear me?
That is the light of the apocalypse, the fire of doomsday. If the attack lands, all the skies will be obliterated.
I mean, how can it
Lyria,
miss?
ready?
The whole sky gonna be obliterated?
That's not a good thing.
Yeah, that look cool.
Yep,
I'm interested. I'm gonna give a little Final Fantasy vibe going on there.
very much so. And the last trailer this week, we're going to stalk the streets of Venice, and Vampire the Masquerade, Justice.
There was no love between me and my sire. But he was right about one thing. Someone had to pay. haven't been in the city for long, but you've already caused a lot of trouble.
Okay.
You have something I want.
Please don't do this. I have a family.
This is your final warning, or I'll go after your family myself. This is not even your city. Your antics have made the rabble uneasy. The guilty must be punished.
Oh, he a vampire. Got
a little arm crossbow and whatnot.
Talk about.
Yeah. What do we need that for? Okay.
You know, part of me is like, oh, it looks cool, and part of me is like, this is kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, kind of. Like I can respect the premise. I think it would be a good game if it had a little bit more to it, but I don't know what else they need to add. Something's missing from this.
Yes, that's the best way of putting it. Something is definitely missing. Yes.
And I don't like how this is supposed to be VR too, but the graphics look like PS2.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, Sony. Let's rework some of these ideas.
Yeah.
Why Sony don't want to do the right by people?
I think because everything's multi-platform. Because, like I said, I dropped on the VR2 and MetaQuest last year, and it's just dropping on PC now. So I don't know which one is the lowest common denominator, but that's probably what they went to, and then just scaled up for everybody else. Yeah. So something tells me it's probably MetaQuest.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
All right, so that's our take on this week's new releases. Brian, what you got coming up this week?
I put out a new episode finally of Talk+Play Blerd Pod. You can right. You can check that out wherever you stream podcasts. So I've been on break from the podcast for quite some time, like 2 months or so. I ain't really get a chance to do my whole end of the year going into the new year situation. So I did like a kind of like a mashup of that. The things that made me happy about 2023 and then what I'm looking forward to for 2024. So that's available, like I said, wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's it for now.
Okay.
Maybe some other things soon, but that's it. What about yourself? What you got?
It was a busy week, so pretty much all of this week and next week, getting daily drops from the Washington, D.C. Auto show, which just ended last week. So far at the time of this publication or this recording, my visits to the Hyundai booth, Toyota, and looking at all the EVs from Polestar, which I think is a horrible name for a car company. Tesla and Lucid, the one little Lucid car that they had, which really sucked. So that's out. Also, my interview with Dr. Aaron McDonald, who is an astrophysicist, who is the science advisor for Star Trek. She's there. Interview her in support of Farborough Convention, which is coming up February 9th through 11th up in Pikesville, Maryland. And then also interviewed author Cassandra Charles, who we met up in Jersey at Exotica, talking about how she got into writing erotica and how that is branched off into different merchandising avenues for her. So that's that. Hopefully, as I said before, we'll have a Game Bites coming out this week. Persona 3 Reload. I'll download tomorrow and get some footage and talk about it. So that'll be hopefully on here and WebsterStyle this week as well. Speaking here, you are Nerds Rule the World. When I think nerds, I don't know about you, I always think of Revenge of the Nerds. And that movie is great, but that would not fly nowadays.
Yeah, we talked about it. It's not.
Yeah, it is.
It's
it is
definitely
not
for the time it was right.
Definitely for the time, but no panty raids here, nothing like that. We're Nerds Rule the World. Follow us on Instagram at New Release Wednesday, on Twitter at the NRW, and of course, you're currently on YouTube. So make sure you like, share, and above all else, subscribe.